Kids are inherently creepy in horror movies and thrillers, especially if they have unnatural powers that send a chill up your spine. But if you find fictional stories of creepy kids chilling, wait until you hear about these stories, where we'll be diving deep into the world of unsettling and downright petrifying, with 10 real-life creepy kid stories that will leave you questioning everything. Quick disclaimer, where applicable, some kids' names have been changed for privacy purposes. The boy who predicted the future. In the early 2000s, a boy named Michael, name changed, living in a small town in Ohio, began experiencing incredibly vivid dreams. These weren't typical childhood fantasies though, they were disturbingly realistic premonitions. He would describe specific events like a neighbor's tree falling during a storm, which happened 2 days later. He also predicted his sister losing a specific earring under the couch, which she found exactly where he described. In another, he even predicted a minor car accident involving a blue sedan at a specific intersection. These details were so precise and the frequency so high that the family became deeply unnerved, and for good reason. One particularly unsettling prediction involved him describing a small fire in the school cafeteria the day before it occurred, mentioning the smell of burnt toast and the location of the fire extinguisher. The predictions eventually faded as he got older, but the initial period was profoundly unsettling, leaving his family wondering if he had a genuine psychic ability. The Silent Twins. This is a well-documented case. June and Jennifer Gibbons, both born in Wales in 1963, developed their own private language, a rapid-fire mix of English and other elements that became known as Idiglossia. They were inseparable, communicating almost exclusively with each other, creating elaborate plays and stories within their shared world. They became known as the Silent Twins because they barely spoke to anyone outside of their close bond. They even wrote novels and short stories within their own world, filled with complex characters and narratives. Their intense codependency and almost complete isolation from the outside world created a truly eerie atmosphere around them, making the story both tragic and fascinating. The Child with an Old Soul. This case has received significant attention over the years. James Leninger, born in 1998, began having vivid nightmares about plane crashes at a very young age. He would shout in his sleep about being shot down, and he began recounting details of a past life as a World War II fighter pilot. He named a specific aircraft carrier the USS Natoma Bay and provided details about his squadron and his own death. Researchers later confirmed these details through historical records, adding a chilling layer of credibility to his claims. He even correctly identified a photograph of the Natoma Bay and pointed to a specific spot on the ship where his plane would have been parked. This level of detail coming from a small child is what truly sets this case apart and makes it so creepy. The Boy Who Saw Shadows. In the late 1990s, a family living in a rural area of Pennsylvania reported their young son David, whose name has been changed, consistently describing shadowy figures in his room. They weren't monstrous figures, but vague human-like silhouettes that seemed to flicker at the edge of his vision. He described them as always being just out of sight, disappearing when he turned to look directly. This went on for several months, creating a pervasive atmosphere of unease in his house. The shadows seemed to move with him, appearing in different rooms as he moved throughout the house, always just at the periphery of his vision. The family even tried various remedies from nightlights to blessing, but the shadows persisted for a considerable amount of time. The Whispering Walls. This story comes from various online forums and personal accounts. It involves families moving into older homes. One account from the early 2010s describes a family in New England whose youngest child, Emily, name changed, complained of constant whispers emanating from the walls. These weren't distinct words though, but a constant low murmur that seemed to follow her wherever she went in the house. No one else in the family could hear them, leaving Emily feeling isolated and frightened, and for good reason. The whispers seemed to intensify at night, making it difficult for Emily to sleep. The family eventually consulted with a local historian who revealed that the house had a history of unexplained events, adding another layer of unease to this chilling situation. The Unblinking Gaze. This story, which was found shared on a parenting forum, involved a child named Samuel, name changed for privacy, who around the age of 3 developed a habit of staring intently at people without blinking. The gaze wasn't aggressive or angry or anything like that, but it was unnervingly intense, making people feel deeply uncomfortable as if they were being scrutinized. He would often stare at people for extended periods, even during conversations, without ever breaking eye contact. This behavior made social interactions very awkward and left many people feeling deeply disturbed by the intensity of his gaze. The child who knew too much. There are many documented cases of child prodigies, and some of their stories can be unsettling to say the least. One example involves a child named Akrit Jaswal from India, who at the age of 7 performed a successful hand surgery. While his talent was remarkable, the idea of a young child possessing such advanced knowledge can be weird. He taught himself medicine by reading medical textbooks and observing surgeries, but the fact that he was able to perform such a complex procedure at such a young age without formal training is both astonishing and somewhat, well, like I said, weird, disturbing, unsettling. The recurring dream. A girl named Sarah, whose name has been changed, in the early 2000s had the same dream every night for several weeks. The dream involved walking down a long, dimly lit corridor towards a closed door. The details of the corridor, the lighting, and even the doorknob were always identical. The child never opened the door in the dream, but the repetition and the intense detail made it a disturbing experience. The dream became so ingrained in her mind that she began to fear going to sleep at night. She even drew pictures of the corridor and the door, trying to make sense of the recurring imagery. The imaginary friend who wasn't so imaginary. A family moved into an older house in the Midwest. Their young daughter, Lily, name changed, began talking about her imaginary friend, a boy named Thomas. Thomas described details of the house's previous occupants, including specific items of furniture and even a small hidden room that the family later discovered during renovations. He even described a specific incident involving a broken window that had occurred years before the family moved in, a detail confirmed by a neighbor who had lived there in the area for a long time. This level of specific and verifiable detail made the family question whether Thomas was truly imaginary. The boy who stopped aging. Another well-documented medical case, Brooke Greenberg, born in 1993, suffered an extremely rare condition that caused her physical development to essentially stop. While she continued to grow mentally, her physical appearance remained that of a toddler for years. This condition, while medically fascinating, also created a deeply unsettling feeling for many, as it defied typical human development. Doctors were unable to diagnose her condition, which made it even more mysterious. The fact that her body essentially stopped aging while her mind continued to develop created a profound disconnect, making her case one of the most unusual and unsettling in medical history. So there you have it, 10 creepy stories of creepy kids. But what do you make of these unexplained phenomena? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more chilling content coming your way soon.